Hi, I'm V. Neill. I'm Director of Education here at Cinema Makeup School, and I am sitting here with some of our alumni who also were alumni on Face Off. And I would like them all to introduce themselves. So let's start down at the end, please. And please tell us what season or seasons you were on.
I'm Kris. I was on season 4.
I'm Chloe. I was on season 6.
Casey, season 12.
And Rod from season 3.
I'm Gage from season 1 and season 11.
I'm V from all of them. I think I missed one, though.
I'm Robert, season 10, and my accent is real.
I'm Adolfo. I'm from season 5, and my accent is also real.
Sasha, season 7 and 13, and my accent is real.
And I am Graham from season 6 and 13. I have no accent.
I'm sorry.
First of all, what I want to talk to you guys about is, how do you think going to CMS sort of prepared you for being on Face Off? I mean, are you grateful that you were here and you had a bit of an education before you like went on there and got thrown to the wolves, as it were? Who wants to start?
You want to start down?
Not everybody has to answer, but.
Well, for me, I'm an instructor here first, so I will hand it to Gage since he is the original.
I would say that going to cinema did help. It helped a lot. Reason being, I was new to LA, and I put myself through makeup school, I think the day after I moved here. And then I believe the first season of Face Off happened about 4 years later after I attended cinema. And at that point, we had to make something out of nothing all the time. And I think going to makeup school, you learn those chops as well as sculpting, molding, fabricating, casting, and application. So it really encompasses all of it, and all of those tools is what you bring to the plate on the show. And I don't think half of what I did on the first season I would even know how to do if it wasn't for cinema. So I would say it benefited me greatly. Yeah.
Cool.
For me, I saw the first season in Israel, and I actually came to cinema because so many people on the season were cinema alumni. So it kind of went the other route. And being in cinema makeup school, I did Battle of the Brushes, and there was a lot of preparation. There were already a lot of seasons of Face Off by the time I applied for Face Off, but having all that, lots of competition, lots of support, lots of various activities and talks here really helped kind of make me more well-rounded, I guess. So there was a lot going on here, more than the classes.
Bill, being well-rounded is really helpful on Face Off because you have to do everything from beauty, makeup to special effects, which was something I was always like harping on everybody. That's really great, you know how to make a monster, but can you make your monster pretty?
And hair and wigs too, which we style.
Yeah, exactly, everything.
I think for me, I was approached when I was in Austin to do the show before I moved here, and I definitely wasn't ready then. Not to say that I think I was ready when I did the show, but I had won a scholarship to cinema, and I had built this female creature from the Black Lagoon that was all an L200 suit, and I think that process of building that, as well as going to school here, really helped me kind of think outside of the box when it came to creating monsters for the show. So I'm definitely happy that I did it.
What about anybody down here? Want to talk? Come on, let's grab her down there.
There you go.
Okay. Well, not only do you need to know like the technical parts of it, but you also need to be able to create on the spot. And I think that here at the school, they don't only teach you how to do everything, they also really push everyone to be creative. And so I think that helped us all be able to be creative. And you really need that on the show because you have 30 minutes to.
Yeah, you have no time at all. You have to like really just grab the tail and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the fact that even in school, when you're doing your final, you still have a time frame. You don't have the time. You're not working on your own time. You're also working on the time that the teacher gives you. So not just that, but also the school itself is really inspiring. If you haven't been here and you have a tour, it's really inspiring. It looks like a museum. So the first time I walked into school for my tour, I was super impressed. So it was super inspiring, and it definitely helped me a lot in the show. Because when I went in the show, it was really hard for us because we were all new versus all these veterans. So we were thrown to the wolves, literally. But again, being in the school, and it helped us a lot to kind of survive as much as possible.
Cool. Does anybody have, let's start with something fun. Who had a favorite makeup that they did that they would like, let's say even you might want to recreate and even do it better and for real? So you didn't have to do it in 5 minutes.
I have one. It would be my season finale makeup from season 1. I did a Hansel and Gretel, and I did a witch, and I did Gretel, and then Hansel.
All the candy and all, yeah, that was good, yeah.
And I would love to redo that where it wasn't so rushed. Also, we are constantly growing as artists, so that was, oh my God, that was 8 years now. Going on 9.
Yeah.
There's so much
2010.
more. Yeah, there's so much more that I feel I could do now as an artist too, and bring to the plate. So that's one that I would love to have another go at.
Sure. In my finale, we had a lot thrown at us as surprise, so we didn't get to off the bat just kind of plan it, because Glenn came out and he was doing a haunt. And he had ideas for characters in the haunt, and they had rooms set up for them and props and chairs and things that were happening. So part of the wardrobe that we got for my character, the demon, Asmodeus the Devil, which he was already in a script and already in existence, I had to design for certain situations that already existed, which was super difficult because he had to be about 200% size, as the chair was a 9-foot chair and he had 6-foot legs that were fabricated out of fiberglass, and a 9-foot skirt with a train, and had to have these huge horns. So that was a lot to do in 3 days. And
That's kind of like being given a script and saying, that's what we do in real life. They give you a script and you have to make what it says right there.
Right there, right now. And the chair was moving, and everything had to be screwed, and we had our logistics guy just drilling the horns and everything into the chair so that when it moves, he doesn't just go over. But it was a really fun one that I would love to do better.
Cool. Come on, Chloe, I know you have one.
Well, I did redo one. I did a grayscale Frankenstein on the show. And I had some issues with the colors when it was under the lights and stuff like that. I don't know if we talked about that a lot because of Ed Wood. And so I redid it as an IMATS demo, and it's one of the pieces I think that has kind of helped me launch my career at that point. So.
I know on our season we went a little crazy. We were doing bodysuits in a few days. So I would love to go back and redo that Defiance challenge. I know that TV show that probably went off the air now, but
oh, right.
Yeah, we mashed 2 characters together. We started this bodysuit trend, and we just didn't slow down, and then we ended up doing it by ourselves. And it was a little bit more than, I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. But I'd love to go back and redo that whole thing and actually put some legs on it, and so it's got more movement and whatnot. So, but yeah, I go back and look at that. I just man, I wish I had just one more hour to paint, because the clock flies by. When you watch the show, you're not really seeing the stress. I'm trying to ignore the clock, but then you've got people shouting out how much time is left, and you're like, oh my God, there's so many things I wish I could do to it. But yeah.
What about you guys down here? Somebody got something? Bring it on down. Come on, Robert.
I actually have redone 2 of my makeups already, the Hans the Brainworm for Monsterpalooza, and I have redone my final, the Party Genie, on myself, the male version. And one more thing I would like to do is Board Game Man. Remember Board Game Man?
Yes, I
and
remember
make
Board Game Man
make
very
a
well.
satanic version of Board Game Man. He has the dice on his head, and on each side is a 666, and make it really, demented and wrong, and good. Yeah.
I remember we called it board game guy or something. You go, no, board game man.
It's a man. It's board game man. I'm very particular about that, so don't mess up the name. Okay, Adolfo, any creations?
I will definitely would like to recreate the one when I went home. It was a subterranean creature. I think it was episode 5. And I think I'm permanently damaged by this challenge because I have nightmares. I don't have it anymore, but I had them for a long time, and I was like, I think months later, I tried to think about what I would have done, and I still couldn't figure it out. But a couple of years later, I think I got it. So I think I will be ready to recreate my subterranean
Well, maybe
creature.
you need to do that for Son of Monster Palooza that's
Probably
coming
I'll.
up.
Well, that's a challenge. I'll do it then.
Yeah, the last one that I did was a dryad, which is like a tree goddess, protector of the trees. And I really like trees and all that a lot. And I kind of felt like I let the trees down when I kind of failed on that. Like, it was after this eucalyptus tree. It's a really beautiful tree. It's this rainbow eucalyptus. And, I'll be on the trails in LA, like running by eucalyptus trees. It's like, I let you down, tree. So like, if I could, I'd redo that. Like, I remade a mask in that kind of style, but I'd love to do it as a makeup again. So yeah, the dryad challenge.
Cool.
You had that problem with the trees. Okay, in season 13, we competed for The Little Mermaid, and I lost. So I would definitely want to recreate that and beat you. And it's also Del Toro. It was Del Toro challenge, and I love Del Toro, so I feel like I could definitely do that better than you.
Okay, so I think this will be even more fun. There was so much stuff shot on that show that never got seen. Like, everybody said, oh, you're so nice, you're the nice judge. And I said, dude, that's the way they cut me, because I was not nice all the time, believe me. I mean, I've said some pretty mean stuff to contestants. I mean, with love. But I mean, I did say some stuff that really kind of cut down.
We're still scarred.
Huh?
We are still scarred.
But like I was saying, there was a lot of stuff that you didn't get to see, and there was a lot of like major snafus and stuff that went wrong, and really funny stuff that happened that you never got to see. And I want to hear some stories because even I haven't heard all the stories. So, come on, who's got a juicy story? You got a juicy one? Come on, baby.
I don't know if it was like on one of the challenges or anything, but we went to Japan.
That was a
season
snafu.
6. And it was pretty awesome, and Rashad and I were sharing a room, and we were in this Japanese hotel, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go get something to drink out of one of the vending machines. So I come back, he's like, get me whatever you get. So I get a couple like lemonades. I'm just assuming they are lemonades. And we're drinking these Japanese lemonades, and we're watching Japanese TV, and we're like laughing really hard, and now we're like pointing at the TV and being really like belligerent about it, and we're like, what's with these lemonades? And they were alcoholic lemonades, but couldn't read them. We drank 2 before we knew we were drunk. So yeah, just getting drunk without knowing it in Japan is pretty funny.
Without knowing it, sure, yeah. That happens all the time.
I have to think about it. Come back.
I'm thinking about it too.
Well, in the elimination challenges, I was hiding objects under my shirt.
I do remember that.
When I was the first time in that spot, I noticed there's a long time before they actually say the person who is going home, before they say it, this long wait, and I was figuring, if you want to mess with them, that's the moment, yeah? So I would just smuggle certain things under my shirt, and I would pull them out and do strange things with it. Do you remember something, V? Can you maybe...
I think I don't need that. I got one. I got one of my own.
That's right.
Keep your critter to yourself.
I like it.
You had some weird bug thing or something you kept pulling out of your pocket, or
It was a land crab.
it was a land crab?
Yeah, like
Oh,
those little
God.
crabs
What
they
it-
have in
it was some
restaurants.
Little funky creature you kept pulling out and hide. I don't know what you were doing with it, but it was freaking me out.
I was petting it.
Oh, freaking me out. That's right. Petting a creature. Yeah,
It
that
did
was-
work.
You were just plain weird. You were the comic relief, dude. We loved having you there. We just wanted you to be there to entertain us.
Thank you.
We didn't care about the makeup. We just wanted to hear what you had to say the next day.
Well, I had a good time. More stories over here?
Let's see. I can tell you that on season 1, we had a huge, right the night before our finale, we had a huge food fight. Huge, like in the house. So we completely trashed the little house that they had us in. But I think, you know what it comes from? I think it comes from being pent up for, you know, when you're on the show and you make it to the finale, even on season 1, which was 8 episodes, we were there for a month and a half, roughly.
You're sequestered. In
Correct.
You can't have computers. You can't have phones.
Yeah.
They can't have
TV.
You couldn't have TV either?
No, not on season 1. When I went back for All Stars,
wow.
we could, but
What a
not on season
bummer.
1. We couldn't have books, pens, pencils, any kind of writing utensils.
Wow.
Yes.
Prison.
Yeah, so you just sit there like.
Artist prison.
Yeah, so I think when all of the eliminated contestants came back, we just went crazy. So, but it was all in good fun. We had a big food fight. I think they kind of saw that on camera, but.
Oh, yeah, because on season 1, we were still going into the house, yeah.
Correct, yeah, you were still doing house
That sort of
reality.
went away after a while. What
It
season did that go away at, like 3 or
I think it went away around, what?
3 or
6?
4 maybe?
I don't know, yeah.
No, I don't think it, I think we, yeah?
Oh.
I don't
know.
remember it lasting that long, because I think they kind of decided that they didn't care about we were getting a lot of, I guess, SyFy was getting a lot of messages that they didn't really care what was going on in the house. They wanted to see what was going on in the lab.
Oh, okay, more work related.
Yeah, more work-related stuff.
I got it. Yeah, so I know.
I could be wrong, though. Yeah, my memory is not so good.
No, I think you're right, because I think that's what they told us when we went back for All Stars. They were like, we're no longer doing in-house reality, and I'm all, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool, I guess. On All Stars, also right before we went on stage for our Mad Max challenge, which is what I went home on, we all painted our faces like warriors. We were like about to come out, and we had lined up, and we're about to come out on stage, and they're like, "What is going on? Absolutely not! Everybody wash your faces." So
Oh,
if you
bummer,
look,
that would have been fun.
Yeah, they said absolutely not. If we didn't do it on camera, we couldn't do it at all. So because we did it after they took our models to stage. When we hurried into that, we couldn't do it. So we all hurried and washed our faces up. It was all Illustrator. Almost all of it. So we're like, if you look at that episode, we're all out there and our eyes are all red because we're all scrubbing our faces with alcohol and stuff. But,
I'm sorry.
we would try to have fun, but a lot of times it wasn't ever seen because they're like, it didn't happen on camera, take it off now. And so.
Well, it's kind of hard to have that much fun when you only have like about this much time to actually do what you're supposed to be doing, you know? You don't want to waste it on yourself. You want to get it on that model now.
Yeah, it's true.
What about you, Rod? Come on, don't be so boring. What the hell?
I can't help it. I am. You know what? What people don't know is Jason from my season was the funny guy in the house, and on TV he was just very straight-laced and quiet. But always in the van. He's on SNL now and has been for years.
Really?
And has Emmys from SNL with Louis, and their fantastic team. Yeah, Jason was hysterical. He was a DJ in our van on the way to the set every day, but you didn't get to see that. And we were always like, Jason, you should, just be more of that on in front of camera. But he's just quiet in front of camera. He wasn't.
That's funny.
Didn't need any,
That's cool.
to be that. But that was the humor. Jason was the humor.
What about you guys?
There's a lot that goes on that people don't get to see on the show, from things like choosing contact lenses, doing costuming. A lot of the props guys come out. There's a great face-off team that are doing their own personal face-off behind the scenes. The wardrobe people who do amazing costumes that we ask for in the same amount of time, even less, because they have to go out and do shopping. So they're the unsung heroes, is props, wardrobe, contact lenses, and all those. We had tons of fun on my season with me and Philip Hurrah, just designing all these crazy things, and we would get really, really, really crazy with them, and we would wear the costumes that would come in. We would wear them before our characters, and we would kind of dress up as our characters before we would dress them, and just run around the lab putting on wigs. me and Philip were up to no good. That was the best part about it. We would just prank each other. He brought over this mouthwash for me to test out to see if it was safe or delicious for our model, and it stained my teeth for about half a day, which was great. I was able to somehow get it all off before last looks and going back on camera. But there's just a lot of really great moments. Another one we had was polyfoam. What they don't usually show is if you run polyfoam, you have to crush all the little bubbles so that all the gas comes out. So we would all on our team get together and like do a group hug and kind of stomp on the polyfoam together and like a trampoline. So there's tons of little funny moments there.
I believe the night before the finale, Graham decided to paint his face in a dark color.
Black.
And yeah, but so we have this like house dad. His name is John. He's wonderful. John was so upset with Graham because he was like, the finale's tomorrow and your skin's gonna be stained black and like take it off right now. And Rashad was just egging everyone on, I think, as well in that. And then the other one was Tyler is very high energy. So in the mornings, they would let us have like a rock star or whatever before we would go to the shop. And it got to the point where Tyler was not allowed to have Rockstar anymore because he was just so much energy. Yeah. But we always joked with him about that. So.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same thing with those rock stars. They would give us those, and I would hoard them. So I would take them, put them in a little locker or my little container that they would give us, and they don't. It's product placement. You can't see the Rockstar on TV, so we're over there pouring it in solo cups or lab cups and whatnot, and I'm just sitting over there. So it kind of looks like I'm drinking some sort of dangerous chemical, but yeah, we were drinking so many of those things that John cut us off. He's like, no more. We had trouble sleeping at night, so yeah, it was nuts. But we needed it because we needed that after lunch. Because you take your own lunch. That's another thing too. When we're eating, you take your lunch as long as you want. So it was an eating competition. I mean, we were scarfing something in 5 minutes or eating just a little bit just so we could run back out and start working again. But yeah, that's something they don't show. But the catering was good. How about it, guys? It was awesome.
It's so funny.
Oh man, I gained so much weight on that show. It was ridiculous.
You didn't have catering?
No,
No catering on season 1?
No, you know what we had?
Oh my gosh.
We had pop chips, which had tape over them.
And we had Rip It energy drinks, so Pop Chips and Rip Its, and that's it. And for lunch, they would either get us like a big bowl of pasta that we would all share, or they would get us like a sandwich.
It was the first season.
Yeah, season 1 there was no money. It was called Untitled Makeup Show, believe it or not, till I believe it was the 3rd episode when we were filming it. They're like, the Dwight and Derek and the producers pulled us out into the shop and like, we have great news. I think we've settled on a name. It's gonna be called Face Off, and we all. Literally, we're all that movie with John Travolta, like.
Oh yeah.
And they're all no. It's going to be its own thing where you're all facing off, and we're like, oh, okay. But it's just so interesting because I feel like our experience on season 1 is so profoundly different. Even going back for All Stars, it was totally different. It threw me through a loop. We didn't have a wardrobe team on season 1. Didn't have a contact lens team on season 1. Didn't have a prop team on season 1. So on season 1, the props you see we had to make along with our makeups, and then the wardrobe we either had to sew or they would get us something real basic and like get us something close.
If you look at season 1 compared to like
I know.
season 13 or 10
Yeah.
or whatever, it's so much slicker,
Yeah, I know the linoleum on the ground.
That's why we
now
got
like
canceled.
marble.
It cost too much to make the show by the time we were done.
Yeah.
They were spending too much money. See, when they started,
Yeah.
they did nothing.
Yeah.
So it was easy to make.
Yeah, it was. I feel they both were such challenges, I'll tell you that. Going back to even what it is now, it was still a great challenge. I was like riddled with anxiety on All Stars because you're used to things being a certain way and you go back and then it's like, so like boom, 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 like contact lens people in, wardrobe lens team in,
Yeah,
prop team in. It's
it
like,
became very slick, and everybody
Right.
had a job, and everybody got to do their thing. And
Yeah.
Which is the way it should be. Every department takes care of itself, and
Yeah.
You
It
tell
was-
them what you want and they bring it to you. It's awesome.
Yeah. It was
Like
so
a real movie.
Yeah, exactly. It was just so interesting. It caught me off guard. I was in the middle of sculpting and like wardrobe team's coming in to discuss with me. I'm like, what? There's a wardrobe team?
And they did have a fantastic wardrobe
They
team.
did. They were
I was
wonderful.
really amazed at some of the things that they came up with. They did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And we were constantly thanking them. It never showed on TV, but we were constantly saying what a fabulous job they all
Yeah.
did.
Absolutely. Hats off to them.
Greg can't walk around being able to talk.
Yeah.
And obviously not on camera. Was awesome. Just
Yeah,
amazing.
originally, well, we shot that whole lab setup that we have was Greg Canham's original makeup lab. So we shot in Greg Canham's lab. So it was just a cool place to begin with. And, you know, when they brought all the face-off stuff in, it just became even groovier, you know?
I think in addition to that, there was something that never was shown on TV. My season, we had an airbrush class by Michael Westmore. Like there was a day we went there, I think we were off, but they took us to the shop and then no cameras, no nothing. It was just us and him, and he actually brought his Oscar, and we got to grab the Oscar, which is super heavy actually. But we had an airbrush class by him, so that was
A
pretty.
what class?
Airbrush.
Oh, airbrush, thank you.
know, my accent is also
yeah, the
real.
accent, I couldn't, airbrush. I thought,
airbrush
what's an
class,
Urshi
yeah.
class? I don't know what an Urshi class is.
Airbrush. No, and another thing that happened in my season is that clear? Is that clear? Airbrush. I say airbrush. Airbrush. I happened to have another theater geek in my cast, which was Scott Ramp. Actually, we all know, and we like to sing and we like to dance as we work for some reason, and I tend to do that a lot. So we'll find ourselves singing on set, theater songs.
It's a Latin thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Latin Scott will be, but it is definitely a Latin thing. But we'll be singing like all that jazz in the middle of the shoot, and production will be like, Scott, Adolfo, please no singing. We'll be like, okay. And then little later we'll be like, like no humming as well. And I'm like, sorry. So that was
It
something.
probably had to do with the fact that we couldn't get the licensing for the music, so you'd be,
And that's also another thing that nobody knows it, because when you watch it on TV, like you see the whole thing and like the background music and everything, but when you're in the shop, it's silence. Hi, doll. Like it's completely quiet. There's no music, nobody talks, so it's like literally
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
nothing at all. So you definitely end up humming or singing something or moving around. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we got one. Okay, so season 13, back to about how when we're at the house and we don't have any pencils or pens or phones or internet or anything, they gave us one Samsung Galaxy No Pro tablet with the only feature on it was the photo feature for us to like take photos of like with each other and video. So with all our time, that was not that much time, but our little bit of free time, we created a film called Face Off the 13th, because we were season 13. But the smart thing about it was that each cast member got killed when they got eliminated.
Of course.
So after we would find out who got eliminated, we would come up with some sort of similar to Friday the 13th type kill that we would do.
It was always ketchup, though.
Yeah,
So
ketchup.
we
Yeah, we did. That's true.
So we would just spray ketchup on whoever died.
We took and you could just see the bottle in the frame squeezing at the and but we used do you remember the arm with the butter knife and the backwards and we took water from the sink and put it on our head for like sweat, and we're running through the halls. Oh, we do the voice, in the world.
Oh yeah, it would be like, in a world. What was the rest of it? How did it go? Okay.
And then the very end. Well, anyway, it never.
Into it?
I don't know.
I think we filmed the end.
Maybe not.
We kept filming until we couldn't, and then they were like, we're going to cut all this together for you guys and put it online.
did they ever cut it all together?
No, it's kind of scary.
Derek, Dwight, Michael, cut it up.
Yeah, we all got these tablets and did amazing things with them, and they never did anything with that footage. My season, we had the Face Off blues that we made, music. There was a guitar in the house, and we play a song, and we filmed it. And another thing, Face Off is filmed at a secret location. It's a house. It changed over time. It started in a different place, but for several seasons it was in a specific house. And what most people don't know, that house was haunted.
Really? Where
Really.
was that house? What city?
It's in North Hollywood.
Really?
Yes, and I was actually talking to other people from other seasons before me, and they told me the same thing. We had weird things happen there too. So what I actually did with the tablet, I noticed after a while that everyone had these things happening to them. And I'm not even super superstitious or anything. I don't believe in that stuff, but everyone had something happen to them. And I started to, if something happened to you, I filmed it. Tell your story. So I did a little kind of a ghost documentary. Whenever something had a ghost story, tell your story on camera.
Was it scary stuff, bad stuff, or just stuff? Moving stuff
It
around,
was
or?
flickering lights, the doors were closing. I have my own
So
specific
nobody
story.
got hurt, it was just stupid stuff, like,
Nothing really dangerous, I
yeah,
suppose.
okay, so flickering lights, doors slamming.
Yeah, and
chairs moving.
my iPod
Pots-
would start to
pots
play at
disappearing.
night
Oh.
by itself.
Did candles move around the house?
No candles.
Okay, just checking.
And yeah, so anyone else had a ghost story that happened to them in the house there?
Did anybody else stay in that house in North Hollywood?
No, I don't.
I never saw it, but I think Miranda said something once. She's like, I think there's something in this house. But I never really saw it, but she did. And Alana as well.
We had ghost moments. I can't remember any, but I agree with that.
Then it couldn't have been
statement.
all that scary if you don't remember it, right?
We-
Hey, do
I don't- it
we
wasn't
have
me.
any questions from anybody in the audience? Does anybody want to ask us something? You got one? Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a question about Gage about the crotch piece on his model.
We can't hear you. What's the question?
Gage's crotch piece on his model falling off.
Oh, a snafu.
Yes, this was like a steamy snafu. So we on season 1, I believe that's what this is. That's funny. I think season 1 we had an alien challenge, and I was partnered with Marcel, who's still my best friend to this day. We were best friends. Yeah, we've been best friends forever. But our model needed to be nude. And at that time, our design for our alien, it was this weird thing with these spikes coming out of the back. And we had created a crotch piece to glue down in front and behind, as well as over his chest, so all of his privates and his nipples and everything would be covered. And we asked for a thong, a men's thong. And the wardrobe had just given us this, because again, we weren't supposed to have wardrobe on season 1, so it was just the regular wardrobe woman who's like, I'll get you, if I can, the closest thing I can find. She got us these really thick, and I've never seen them since, like heavy cotton briefs for men. But the thing is that we couldn't hide it because they were so thick and they were long that we couldn't hide them underneath the piece we had created. So we pulled our model
just
aside.
got a chick's bikini.
Yeah, I know. Well, we pulled our model aside and we said, listen, we have this design. Do you mind being nude for it? You know, until we glue the prosthetics on. He's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, you won't be nude on stage or on camera, but you'll be nude, with the prosthetics covering. And he was like, well, I mean, I guess it's okay, but, can we put it on in the restroom? And we're like, okay. So we go into the restroom, and then the cameras try to follow us, and it turned to this thing where the model got upset. He slammed the door to the bathroom there in the studio on the camera lens, and then the camera guys got mad, and production got mad. And I was like, listen, he's completely nude. We were gluing his privates up underneath, and they were trying to walk in as Marcel's holding his junk, and then I'm trying to apply glue. And it was this whole thing, and then we came out, and production's like, you can't do anything that's not on camera. I'm all, well, his testicles are out, so if you want to film that, you're more than welcome to, but he's not going to be too happy about it. And then from that moment on, it was fine until we got to the judging stage. So the models are taken away from us, and there's a bit of a time, a good 45 minutes before we walk on the stage that we don't see our models. In that time,
That's when we were doing creature porn. That's
Yeah,
what we used to call
exactly,
it. They
yeah.
would bring him out. We would have a portion at the beginning of the show where they would bring the cameramen were testing the makeups and testing the models so they knew where to go and everything, and we got to watch that so we could kind of see what they looked like on camera before we actually got out there, so we could start thinking about what we were going to say or what to look at when we got up close. So we had this thing and they called it creature porn, where they would, all the creatures would come out and like do their little walk.
Yeah, that what you see on the show when each model walks out individually and does like their thing, that is all filmed before we walk out on stage.
And that's what the rehearsal is.
Right, and so he was doing that, and at some point during that, his crotch piece came loose or unglued, and his testy popped out. And so then we had to ask John, and they had to check with production, and it was like a big thing. I'm like, we literally just want to glue it down, or our model's like, he was threatening to leave. He ran off stage and he wouldn't come back out. And then I was like, do you guys want to finish makeup on stage? You want to just let us glue that flap down real quick? Because the rule is you can't touch them after they leave last looks. So it was like a whole thing. The whole cast had to vote that it was okay. Producers had to okay it. And then we went back, we hurried and did that, and then we came back out on stage. But yeah, that happened on season 1.
That's a good snafu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was an interesting snafu, to say the least. I mean, our model was a great sport about it.
Did anybody else have like a horrible catastrophe with like a mold or something that we never got to see, or like pieces that didn't come out, or were you guys the lucky ones?
No, I totally did.
For me, mine was the injury, and we didn't play it up very much on there.
Oh, right.
But for me, because it was the very first episode, and I just overworked my arm so much that during the final, where it's being displayed, and it's on stage, my arm started to squeak a little bit. So the medic came over and took a look at it and said, well, it's probably just age. And I, first of all, said, thank you very much. But the next day, after that, when I woke up in the morning, I couldn't even crack an egg. And when I moved my arm, it squeaked out loud and crunched. So it sounded like it was broken. So they brought me to to a clinic, and the clinic said, you cannot use it for 6 months. At all. So that's when they were talking about having, I don't know if you knew this, having me not, come back maybe for another season. But after talk, they then called this great doctor for athletes, and they had him come in at 11 o'clock at night with a nurse, and they looked at it, and they said, well, we can inject it with cortisone and see how it feels the next day. So we did that, and with that, the swelling went down just enough that I was already on the Pirate Challenge the next day with that type of injury. So, because I was really upset.
No kidding.
It takes so long to get on that show, so much time, so much paperwork, so many interviews, so much stuff. I was like, I was really like crushed.
That
but
would've
then
been
I
a
was like,
bummer.
I'm not going to let it stop me. Anyways, but that was that.
Well, cool.
I had a crazy injury on the show too. That it was funny. When you see the interviews, I'm usually very stiff like this. People even laughed about it online. They called me a robot, and I wouldn't pass a Turing test where you do the CAPTCHA. But on the 4th episode, I strained and had a tear in a muscle in my neck. And I had to go to the hospital, and they injected me with steroids. But they could only do that on the day of the interviews. So on the day of the interviews, on the first half of the day, I would go to the clinic, get injections in my neck, be stiff the whole day like this, turning around like that. And then that went on for the entire end of the season.
Wow.
But it was crazy because you work so hard to get on the show, and they come and they say, well, you need 12 days of rest.
No guts.
Yep, not gonna happen. And they're like,
Yep.
or steroid injections. I'll take the injections, thank you.
Wow.
So that was my
Do we have any
experience.
more questions? What about the audience here? Do you guys have any questions for anybody? Yeah.
Did you have any beef with any of your contestants?
The question is, did you have any beef with any of the other contestants? Like, were you mad, or did you have a row with anybody? Anybody butt heads? Yeah, did you butt heads with anybody when you were on the show? Where's the microphone? Hello, hold on. Wait.
This isn't a beef story. I don't have beef with Chloe yet, but this is another injury story where you and I were like turning a corner over by the entrance, and we were both going high speed, and both heads just went right into each other, and we had like literally 5 minutes left. So we kind of just like bang, both fell over, and we kind of like look at each other. Yeah, and everybody ran over. Yeah, it was like this big like pop.
Wow.
And like your mouth went right into my forehead.
Yeah, my lip was all fat on
Yeah,
stage.
but there was no time. It was just kind of like, are you okay? You okay? All right, goodbye. And we both kept running. That was pretty good, but it wasn't on purpose.
Well, I don't think that qualifies as a beef, but
No.
I don't know.
It was butting heads.
You were, well, that's, okay, butting heads, yeah, sure.
I mean, a lot of times you get your challenge, and okay, and here's your new partner, and you get the challenge. You have to make up, what the hell am I going to do? And then you get this brilliant idea. I know exactly what I want to do. And your partner's like, oh, I don't like it. And then you start from scratch. At that moment, you just want to kind of do something, but you have to remember you're on TV. It's all politics, and so oh no, you don't like it. Or what else could we possibly do? God damn it! Yeah. And yeah, but I had no real beef per se, like big things happening on our season. Just the general annoyance of sometimes you want to do something and you can't. You have to be political, you know.
I don't really remember anybody having problems with each other. I mean, most of you guys are kind of pretty much friends with everybody, and, you know, am I hooked up?
No, yeah, you're right. I was about to say that is
Yeah.
even you may. The thing is that on a show like this, going from season 1 and then back to 11, there's a lot of camaraderie. In fact, like we go home at the end of the day and we're like, I distinctly remember every night talking with all of the other contestants about, like, you know, if they're going to send us home, let's make it really hard for them to send us home. Like, let's try to do our best. Let's try to, you know, like, just put our best foot forward. There were times, like, obviously, if you're partnered with someone, you don't agree, but you kind of are both wise enough to not show that on camera and then talk it out at the house later on, which is why they should have kept the in-house reality, because we did talk about that stuff all back at the house. But, you know, for the most part, it's very camaraderie. It's because, you know, what we do is such a small industry, and word travels fast, and your next job could be coming from the next one of us, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't want to rub anyone the wrong way, and you want to put your best foot forward. So I can't recall, at least from those 2 seasons I was on, there wasn't a lot of drama.
I think that's one of the comments that I get most of the time when people talk about the show, is the fact that they always say, the thing that we loved about it, it's like really a good family show because it shows camaraderie. It shows, you know, they would help each other. If somebody couldn't get a mold open, everybody would jump in and help them get a mold open. Yeah. It was like nobody wanted to see the other person fail. Of course they wanted to win, but it's just kind of like that artistic nature for you to help and get in there and do it and make it right for everybody, you know, because you don't want to see anybody fail at that point because of something isn't working properly, because you know that they would do it for you. And I think that was kind of, always thought that was really cool, that, you know, everybody helped each other most of the time. I'm sure there was occasions where it didn't always happen, but, you know, whenever they could, they did. And I just think it was a really positive show for everybody, and I'm getting all emotional here. Anyway, somebody else talk.
Yeah. So it's very camaraderie. It's not a lot of drama at all.
But I think I'm coming back to like.
Hold on.
Like going back to like what's not shown on TV. I mean, everything happens. Everybody like super happy to be in the show, but like nobody thinks about the moment that you're gonna get eliminated, and then that moment is really, really hard. And it's not just hard on TV, but it's also really hard in the house. Like packing your things and leaving the house, and all of your friends are in the house, and everybody. I mean, I was crying, but in my case, I have everyone like crying in the house, and I was like, okay, I think this is harder than the actual challenge, just leaving the house. I think I was leaving in the morning in my plane, and I was crying so hard that I think John was like, excuse me, I think we need to change the flights. They changed my flight to like midnight, and then they make a dinner, and Lima make a Mexican dinner, and we stayed the whole day together in the pool. And that's something that you don't see on TV, but it's really, really hard. It's a beautiful show. It's a wonderful experience. But that moment when you have to go home, not on TV, but leave the house and leave your friends, because they become your friends, basically, till this point. Yeah. So that's really hard.
I noticed something. When you were talking about like how everybody's helping each other, I just realized that vibe is totally organic. Like, there's not anybody, like, not even, you know, between contestants. It was like, you know, when you get on the show, be real nice, help everybody, you know. It's just kind of the vibe everybody starts with. Like even going there, we all meet, everybody's really smiley, cool, like into each other's work, talking about each other. So it's like immediately you're kind of like on a team when you get there, and that kind of like, it really helped with the nervousness and, you know, the weirdness of being on a show like that when you have a bunch of other people who are kind of already on your side, because it was like, not like us versus the cameras, but it was kind of like that, you know? So everybody kind of had like a cool vibe that was just immediately, it formed itself, you know? And that's pretty cool. I just realized that.
I got a question, and it's kind of a personal question. Did anybody ever get mad at me for something I said to him? Or did I say something to any one of you that didn't seem fair?
Yeah, another thing. A lot of things that we said didn't make it on TV. And,
Like I said, they thought I was the nice one.
So yeah, nothing in particular. No, we
Okay,
know
good. There
it's a
wasn't
judge
anything-
thing. You know, we don't take it personally. You know.
You got something?
Oh, Casey, here you
I
go.
gotta hear this. It's gonna keep me from crying, so hurry up, will you?
Oh, this was so funny. Our first challenge, we had werewolves, and we made albino werewolves.
Oh, right.
And
I
my
remember that.
werewolf, I couldn't get the edges down on the eyes, so I used a lot of black liner. And the thing you said, and we were all laughing about it so hard, was, who would put cat liner on a cat? And I just like shrunk into the shadows.
I mean, who would put cat liner on a wolf?
Well, she looked like a cat.
Oh, she looked like a cat. Oh.
She looked like a werecat.
Yes, she did look
Yes,
like a
she
cat.
did look like
I
a cat.
remember that now. Yes, she
Yeah,
did.
and I totally agree, but it was so funny the moment that Fee was just like, who would put cat liner on a cat? And I just stepped back, like shrunk away from the cameras. Didn't get called out though.
Did that make it on camera?
No.
It didn't?
No, it was a safe. It was a safe.
Oh, you were safe. Gotcha. That's another thing. When somebody was safe at the end of the show, you know, we felt kind of bad that they didn't get talked to about their makeup. So after the show was over, all of us judges would go into a room with all the contestants that were safe that day, and we would talk to each one of them about their makeup and give them comments like what we thought of it and how it could have been better or what we didn't like about it, so that everybody, you know, had some sort of commentary, so that they had, you know, like a gauge as to where they were as far as their technical
I
abilities.
heard about that. We didn't
Yeah.
have that on season 1.
Well, something we developed.
Yeah, and when I came back for
It actually started on season 4.
Yeah, well, towards
missed
the,
it.
but especially towards the
5.
end, we've talked so much about it. We don't need to like drill it into your heads by then, you know what not to do.
Yeah, you did that to us. I know it was, had a team challenge, was a Hell Froze Over challenge. And we had to change our demons into something frozen. So me and Eric Zapata went with more of a frostbite effect. So the fingertips were black and whatnot, a lot of purples and blues and things like that. And I'll never forget when you came up, because we wanted to get that feedback, and you came behind, you know, off the stage and came up with Glenn, and you're like, you just looked at it, and she's like, he's like, you know, it's like this thing's, it's on acid or something. And I go, was it a good trip or a bad trip?
There were a lot of makeups that looked like somebody was on acid when they did them. I got news for you.
You never answered, so I just laughed.
I know I made some pretty kooky comments that didn't make the camera. I know that for a fact.
I always wonder, and I know a lot of us contestants always wonder, sometimes when we're being judged, you guys say things like when we're in the shop and something doesn't work and we're like, oh, fuck, I have to scrap this last minute. I have to scrap it. I can't do it. And then when we get to stage, you're like, you should have added this. It really would have made it better. It like almost like you knew that's what we were working on and it didn't work out.
They never told us anything
That's
about
so
what went
crazy.
on in there. They never did. I think there was one time something really awful happened to somebody, and it was like a major part of their makeup.
Yeah.
And they just said, you guys, we really need to tell you this because it was something that was really major, and we feel bad for the contestant, but such and such happened, and we just want to let you know that that's why this makeup is so terribly wrong.
Got it.
So that time they did tell us, but most of the time they never told us till after the fact. If we said something about it, they said, that's funny you mentioned that because,
Yeah.
this happened to them, blah, blah, blah. But they would never tell us ahead of time because They really didn't want us to know anything that went on. They only wanted us to see the final result and see, what the artists had come up with, not what they went through to get to it, which was always so surprising to me. I thought, how the hell did they do that in 3 days? It's like, oh my God. I mean, the stuff that you guys did in 2 and 3 days was unbelievable. I mean, the fact that it even stayed together long enough on the stage for us to look at it was amazing to me. And there was so much really fantastic work done by all of you and all of our other artists that were on the show. And I quite frankly was blown away so many times. I mean, and it's funny, I was interviewed someplace and one of the people said to me, what do you think about Face Off? What is one of the things that sticks in your mind about it, and what are you worried about as far as Face Off goes? And this was like right in the middle of it. It was like after season 4 or something like that. And I said, my fear is that the producers are going to think that it only takes 2 days to do these makeups and do them correctly. That is my fear. And do you know that I have actually had people say stuff like that to me? And I said, you know what? Those makeups, some of them looked really fabulous, but you have to remember they were kind of blueprints for something that could have really been fabulous if they would have had weeks to do it instead of hours.
Right.
And I said, some of them managed to get them done enough that they could be presentable. But if you would have sat there long enough and really looked at them and took them apart, you would have realized they were put together with glue and staples, basically.
Yeah. I think Alana said it. She's like, that makeup is held together by a lick and a prayer.
Yeah,
it's so true.
But they held together. It was literally like these makeups were blueprints for something really, really fabulous. That's why I asked you if there was another makeup that you did that you really loved that you would like to do again the right way. Because I know there was a lot of cool makeups on there that people would have loved to have done. Some of them were good enough to be on camera as far as I'm concerned. There was a few makeups that really managed to really set the bar really, really high, So I know there were some, but
yeah,
there was a lot of them that were not.
Yeah, it's so funny watching I've watched every single season of the show. I never stopped watching it. I just thought it was so cool to be a part of something that went on to be so successful, which I believe I said to you guys when I got eliminated through my crying man face. But there was so many challenges that I wish I had that the looks from them really was very inspiring. I still, to this day, would have loved to have the Water World challenge from season 2 that I think they kind of revisited on 13. But that one would be one that I would have just loved to have done because I love Tara and Matt's thing that when they glued that iridescent fabric.
I don't know. That was cool.
Yeah, they can
worked
tell
well.
you that I literally have sat with both of them so tell me all about it. What was this like? Just because I like to know because I'm kind of a dork like that. But
do we have any more questions? Yeah. Anybody?
Can we have all of our people with questions speaking to the mic so that people...
Oh, yeah.
of course, yeah, here.
They've got one for
To
them.
the front. Yeah, we got one right here.
No, they've got one right there.
Just to talk on it, I know it's kind of a broad question because there's so many of us, but is there a look that anybody still thinks of that's the coolest thing I've ever seen? I'll never be able to accomplish that myself. Like a favorite look, just in general.
You mean a favorite look from the show?
From someone else on the show.
From somebody else on the show. Oh.
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I really like Tara and Matt's Waterworld challenge, but I also they had a Tim Burton challenge on that season that I would love to have done.
Yeah, that was a cool
It was so cool. I was like, oh my God, all the good challenges are coming after. Because, season 1 was very basic, like Killer and Alien. But the Tim Burton one, I do remember Matt's very well, and I remember RJ's little cabinet of drawers.
That was really
that was
cute.
really fun.
That's one of the funniest ones for me.
Yeah,
where he put the bra on my head. I thought, God, I hope they keep that in.
Yeah, and I also really liked on season 4. There were a lot of creations on season 4 that I thought were really cool. I don't know. You watch it and all of them start to blur together, but there's always really standout pieces. So those are a few of mine.
Do you have any?
Oh, a ton. But the first one comes from Laura from my season, which was the Cubism one.
Oh, yeah, that was
so
fantastic.
Great, but everyone here has done amazing pieces, so it's hard to even go. I could probably go down each person and point out something. But the Laura's Cubism one is the one that pops to mind.
So, and her mother Earth goddess.
That was so beautiful. It was like had caterpillar elements in it, and that was like one that I was just, her paint job on that, I was just completely like, as a viewer, I'm all, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Like, she did a lot of really great, she's a great artist.
She was an amazing artist, yeah.
Absolutely. She did some of my all-time favorites.
I actually hired her on a show that I was doing back east.
Well,
so she got to
that's
come and work with me. That was really fun.
A smart move, because she's so talented.
I think it was one of the Hunger Games films.
Oh, that's
actually.
great. Good. That's awesome. She's
And you know,
super talented.
Connor did
From
the Hunger
season one.
Games. Connor, who was the winner on season 1, did all the Hunger Games films with me.
Yeah. Super. See, there's so many talented people that have been on the show. Like,
And
you
Tate
could-
worked on Spider-Man with me.
Yeah, Tate.
When I was
Tate.
back in New York, Tate worked on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I've had quite a few people.
That's great.
And I had somebody else on body painting. Who was that? Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed.
Was it Nyx?
No, not Nyx. No, not Roy. Somebody lives back east. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I'll get a text tomorrow.
Right. It was me.
Here.
Back to the question about favorite makeup. I really loved in season 7, George and Sig did for a gangster challenge, they did Big Tuna. And they they accomplished so much work. It was just, I remember looking on stage, it was the Big Tuna and then the rest of them, and it was just so, like, it was just, there was a huge difference. And they not only built a fat suit, which turns out you could actually ask for a fat suit, but they built their own because they didn't know that fact. And they had this amazing whole makeup that they did. It also had a really cool gag where it was almost like a pipe stuck in his like neck, and had some tube and had some powder in it. So they like.
It's like a cigar in his gills.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, a cigar in his gills, and so he just put his hand in his pocket and he could squeeze a little thing and it would pop some powder, and that one is so amazing. And it was also so funny to add onto, like, to add a funny element, some comedy into a makeup. I think that's.
Yeah, I loved it when they would add little special little things, gags that would make it work, or something would happen. You know, sparks would fly, or things would squirt, or it was fun.
And if you can laugh at if a makeup is actually comedic, that you look at it and you laugh, I think that's amazing. I don't think I could ever create a makeup that someone would
There
laugh
was a
at.
couple more questions down here. Yeah. Get the microphone in.
So obviously, with this TV show, you have to be really, good at working with other people. And I know that a couple of you guys talked about, like having like issues with partners and stuff. What was like a, situation where you were partnered with somebody and you guys just did not agree on the design that you were doing or the future that you were making, and like, what's the best way to handle that?
I could tell you.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't run into that problem until I went back for All Stars, and I was partnered with a tremendously talented human being, and I love her to death. Her name's Rachel Wagner. And we would, often, because our brains work differently, so my brain is usually more out of the box when it comes to designing. Her brain works very like, I could do this, but I know this will be safe. So we struggled a lot with trying to combine the two and step out of the box while remaining in her comfort zone, so to speak. Because I'm the type of person, if I'm going to go out, I want to go out doing something really fantastic, or at least attempting to. And she doesn't work that way. So we talked it out, and there were often times where either I would be frustrated by the end of the day, or she would be frustrated. But we did our best to try to help each other through it and find the middle ground, find the compromise, because there's always a compromise somewhere. You just got to find it. And so that's how we handled that. And we made it through. Ultimately we got eliminated, but when we got eliminated, it was tears of joy and tears of sadness, just because we were joyful that we did it together. We were sad because we didn't go longer. And it's also kind of embarrassing getting eliminated, no matter what, like, especially when there's a guest judge who happens to be one of your favorite directors, like with me. When he sent me home, I'm all, oh my God, I love Event Horizon so much. And he's like, I just don't think that you have what it takes. I'm all, okay, thank you. But you take all that with a grain of salt, and that's kind of what you sign up for. So that's how we handled that. We did the walk of shame together, and we cried together, and everything was always together. So it was still
Speaking of guest judges.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember having a guest judge that they really liked that was on the show when you had one of your episodes?
The one I went home on, I really liked Anderson. He directed Event Horizon. He directed the Resident Evil movies. What's his first name? He was wonderful. And I will say, first season we had Sean Cunningham, who directed Friday the 13th and The New Kids. So I remember Marcel and I were like, oh my God, he's here, he's standing in front of us, we love his work so much. And then he sent Marcel home and was like, yeah, and I was like so convinced. That was one where I was so convinced I was going home. I was like, I said my goodbyes to everybody before we went on stage. I was like, no, I'm all, you're good, you relax, I'm going, it's okay. And then we went out there and they're like, oh, you're in the top. I'm all, what? And then Marcel went home and I was like, what? And they're like, we just don't understand your killer on roller skates. I'm all, it's genius. How do you not understand it? So I do recall there's so many times where we've put nuances in our makeups that we want to tell you guys about, but then we're called safe and we're like, but there's so, oh, okay. And like there's so many little details.
That's why we started talking to people afterwards so we could get all the scoop.
There were so many times that I was like, I just want to tell you everything that we were going for, but you know. That's kind of how it goes. You guys?
Anybody else have a?
Got a good one. My least favorite makeup that I did on the show, our guest judge was Rick Baker, and it was Aliens. And which is funny because on the outside, one of my stronger things is science fiction. I'm a huge sci-fi nerd and I want to go to space one day and love NASA. But on the show, so we're doing these friendly aliens and it was a hard day for me. It did not go right. Everything went wrong for me. I made very bad decisions and sometimes you get a little stressed out and made this enormous cowl that I just couldn't finish in time and the mold was breaking, and anyways, I put it out there. Everyone calls it a space chicken. It was supposed to be an amphibian. Rick is like, not my favorite. Then after that, I did Game Face, and I get Aliens again with Rick Baker. Strike two. It's the one I went home.
You like that one?
Yeah, he called it a peanut, and I went home. But yeah, so I have to prove to Rick one day that I can do Aliens.
All right. Sounds like a challenge.
I think, when we went to Japan, we had Kazu with us in Japan, which was like incredible, because here we are like standing at this beautiful like Japanese garden with this bridge, and it's Kazu, and it's like we're all like marching up the bridge, and it's like this incredible thing. And then we find out that it's an anime challenge, so we had to make, was it like our alter egos or something? Yeah, it was like our alter egos in an anime character. And I don't know if, like, those of you who don't know, Kazu is, like, probably, I mean, top 2 in the world ever for realism and
he won an Oscar.
Yeah. And won an Oscar.
Last
and,
year
yeah.
for Churchill, Churchill makeup in The Finest Hour.
Yeah.
Darkest Hour, sorry.
So it's like, okay, so we have this incredible realism artist who's a hero of mine, and now we have to make these like cartoon characters to show him. So it was just like I was just really conflicted with that whole situation. But
he's the sweetest guy in the world.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's incredible.
You didn't have a guest judge?
We did, I can't remember.
We had so many, I don't even remember a lot of them.
I hope that you're going to say the one that I think you're going to say, because I would have died if I had that.
Well, we had Lars Henriksen on our season.
Lance Henriksen.
At the alien chest bursting challenge, and I thought it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, no
it's
kidding.
Bishop from Alien.
Oh yeah, Pee-wee.
Bishop.
Yeah, Pee-wee.
I would have died. I would have died.
I thought that was cool.
We had Jordo Shell in our season. It was actually when I went home for the subterranean creature. And I will never forget it because before I went home, and this is also something that never was shown on TV, but Jordu like took the time off camera to tell me like from the worst things that I did to the best and to the best I could be like in the future. And to this day, every time I'm doing a sculpture, and if you don't know this guy, please.
Yeah,
look him
Jordy
up.
Shell is an incredible sculptor.
One of the best sculptors,
You can look him up online.
So just the fact that I got the chance to like just stand and listen to him telling me like this was terrible, or like saying like you should do this and that. To this day, every time I sit down to do a sculpture, I go back to that moment. I go like, you know what? Maybe I should make this decision, and I should think through this a little better. And that was a really, really cool experience. And then back on Game Face, Rick Baker. I remember I was working. This was also not on camera. And when I'm working and I can see like a voice coming from here, that's a very nice work. And it was like standing right over here, and I'm like, with the airburst like this, like, yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Sure. Doug Jones for the Del Toro Challenge. Doug Jones has worn all of Del Toro's creatures, and so to have that chance to kind of create something that, you know, he would see, and I don't know, it's really cool because I love that style
That's
so
fantastic. There was another question down here somewhere.
Any more questions?
What about the show, like experiences you've had that really helped you in your professional careers afterwards, besides the exposure that comes with being on the show?
Oh, that's a good question.
It is very good.
Yeah.
I mean, what Face Off teaches you, you can do stuff in 3 days. So
It might not be that fantastic, but you can do it.
You can do something, and that does something to your scheduling forever when you have future projects, you know. It might be a very little time, but I did stuff in 3 days. It might not have been perfect, but you can do a lot of stuff in 3 days. So that certainly helped to manage your time scheduling better.
It helps you with your time management, as we like to
having
say.
gone through that, you know.
Yeah.
I would say time management for sure, and I would say it teaches you how to handle stressful situations with other people, and also how to, it kind of humbles you. It has a tendency to, because you kind of develop a thick skin because you're week after week, which I think in all actuality it's like 2 episodes a week is filmed. What airs is. So you're continually going up in front of the judges. You're continually hearing critiques, and so oftentimes they're not great critiques. It's a good mix. It's like the bad with the good, and you never know where you stand until they announce who's the top and who's the bottom. So it has a tendency to humble you, and you have to kind of take a lesson from it and listen more to the critiques instead of the criticisms, is I guess what I'm saying, and kind of develop a thick skin and know that nothing in life is guaranteed to you, nothing's handed to you. You have to earn it, but do so with flying colors, kind of thing, as an artist, you know. That's
Very
for
nice.
me.
Very nice. Was there a question back there, Kevin?
Yeah, we have some YouTube questions.
YouTube question.
I'm sure that people online can hear me. Why was Graham always running around with a bucket on his head?
It's the easiest place to carry a bucket.
Without carrying it.
And then we have another YouTube question. Who was everyone's favorite guest judge?
We kind of just did that.
And we just did, but
All right, we'll move right along. Any more here?
I will.
A lot of people are just saying how inspiring this all is. Very, very happy.
Oh, nice, good.
You go first, and then I'll elaborate.
I'm just going to say that I think another amazing thing about the show is that we made friends with each other
Correct. Yeah.
and work with each other. We did.
The network
Yes,
is
we
pretty
did.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little something nobody knows actually on TV or in general. We have our own little secret Facebook group. Of
What about me? I'm not in there?
of every single season, we're all together. No, but it's really good because we can share, we can like ask for help, we can say, hey, I need this, hey, I have a job, can anybody help me? And everyone is always looking and responding, and it's pretty cool.
It's called networking, people.
It's our little,
Which is what everybody
our
has
little
to
networking cave. Oh, what?
I have a question for you guys. I don't know.
This goes back to the favorite guest judge question. He wasn't a guest judge on our season. Patrick Totopoulos was at that time a permanent judge. I know he came back to guest judge, I think, other seasons. I don't know if any of you guys had Patrick, aside from, I think he stopped after season 3,
Yeah,
right?
because he went directing.
Yeah.
For the very first episode.
I have to say, he's like a truly inspiring human being. He is such a phenomenal artist. He's so humbled. He stayed in touch with me and several other contestants long after the show. And when I got eliminated on All Stars that night, he texted me and said, I think the show lost big time tonight. You're an amazing artist, and one day I can't wait to work with you. And I'm like,
nice.
oh my God. He had me crying. Patrick Tatopoulos was one of the all-time favorite human beings from that show that I got to encounter.
Very nice.
Any?
We got a question in the back?
What kept you guys going through this hard 3-day process?
Well, you want to win.
Dinero. It's called in Spanish dinero.
And you're on TV, everybody's watching. I think the hardest thing for the contestant is the very first challenge, when you just get there and you don't know where anything is, and you get your makeup kit, but you can't look through it. You don't know where anything is in your makeup kit. You have a brief, they show you very briefly beforehand, but you really just start working when they announce the challenge. And then there's your new partner, and just and the fear, you don't want to be the first one to go home, you know. Maybe I could lose a little piece of my finger there, but don't send me home on the first round. It's like
I think that happened to a couple of people, didn't it?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, or any more questions?
No, I think, I mean, personally, my career has fallen a lot into the education. I also teach here sometimes in summer camp in Las Vegas. That's where I'm established, and you have a lot of students, and you have your family, and I have 8 nephews, and my you know what I mean. So when you're in the show, like, you don't have any communication whatsoever. So I think in my case, I always try to just make sure that I did the best I could for me, and to make proud of like my people and my students and whoever was watching. So that kept me going for a while. Yeah.
If you win the show, you win $100,000. So
That's always good
That
incentive. The money. And
might
a
have
car.
something to do too.
Oh, hello. Losing my stuff.
For me, another big thing that I really loved about this show, I had a great experience on the show. And real life is hard, honestly. You get into the house, you sleep a full night, you get fed, you go into a lab that has everything you can ever imagine. Concepts are being thrown at you. You're with these amazing creative people. For me, it was this just insatiable lust for design, creativity, being able to do things, for the most part, my way, and just enjoying and reveling in art with artists, basically. So getting to go through the show, for me, it wasn't a point of what would happen if I go home, because if I do, then, you know, you go home. But getting to do that next challenge, it was just a lot of fun. So I think on our season, we had the teams too. So we always had this creative vibe going on.
Any more questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ooh, good
This is
question.
interesting. I have an interesting story about that.
I'd have to be Connor. I have to say, after seeing season 1 in the Camaraderie, I was sold. I was like, I want to try to do this, and it's just for myself, just to push my artistic boundaries and see how far I could go with just a quick. Then they throw an idea at you, you just like, okay, run with it. And just watching that first season, I was totally hooked. Because I knew the show was coming out, and I think I got a phone call for that first season, and you think of reality shows, and you're thinking like Big Brother, where they're gonna make you look like a bad guy or make you look like an asshole or something like that. So I was a little like drawn back, but when I saw that first season and all you guys getting how they work really well together, I was like, I'm sold. I'm doing this. And that's not like every season, because there has been some seasons where you really see some fighting going on, and I'm sure they probably cut that out. And I will say that producers do want that drama. I know me being on our season, I was probably the oldest guy on the show. We got together with our mics off, and the first thing, we were doing a little toast, and I was like, guys, let's make this about the art and not about the drama, because I know that's what they want. They try to put words in our mouth. They're like, Kris, say it like this. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to say it like this, because that's not who I am. You're going to try to turn me into something. So yes, I definitely was sold on that first season, and I'm glad I was, on season 4, everybody got along so well. I couldn't ask for, a better group of people. But I think every time I watch a new season, there's that camaraderie, but then there's that headbutting thing. I'll see every now and then. I'm like, ooh, God, I'm glad I'm not anywhere near that. I can't stand that. So.
Oh, that's so hard. There's so many amazing people. I mean, I think I'd say Connor as well, honestly, just because he's such an incredible artist, and he was kind of one of the first that I ever saw. That's kind of when I decided to come out here and make it a career. I also really wanted to work with Nix Herrera, who's now my best friend, and we work together all the time, and we're really great at collaborating together. So I think really any of us that have that relationship, and a lot of us have worked together outside of the show, and usually the result is pretty amazing. So
I would love to form a triad with Miranda Jory and Sasha, because I love how your brain works, and I get inspired from you all the time.
Cool.
I say being on the show, we all experienced this weird life of having to get work done in 3 days. Just knowing that, I know we've experienced the same thing. I know everyone up here can pump something out quickly. And I know how hard they're all willing to work, because we busted our butts. I mean, it looked stressful. I knew people that were on season 2 and season 1 before I went on season 3. So I knew how hard, but once you're on the show, it is much harder than it looks, because it is so short. Usually it would take weeks. I know that people can pump out things very quickly, but we've all worked hard, and if we need to do something face-off style, we can do something face-off style if we had to, that fast. So I would welcome working with everyone on this stage. So.
Yeah.
How PC of you.
Yeah. Going back for All Stars, they asked all of us, because it was the first All Star season they did, they asked all of us to formulate a list of 5 people we would want to be on the show with. So we each came up with a list, and then they came back and said, okay, well, we need another list of another 5 people. So I sent them a list of 8 people. And then literally every single person that was on my list was on All Stars, and they did the same with all of us, just to try to see who was available, who wasn't available, who'd be interested. There's so many talented people on the show. I would love to have worked with Laura at some point. I would love to have been partnered with Emily. She was partnered with Tyler on our All-Star season. There's just so many people. I think it's an infinite well to choose from, because truly there are so many talented people on that show. Those are just like 2 off the top of my head, but.
One more thing, when you watch an episode per week, keep in mind when we film it, we do 2 challenges per week. So it's like 5 days. It might be a 3-day challenge and then a 2-day challenge. So we do this twice a week. It's pretty exhausting.
Yeah, it's pretty exhausting.
And from pairing up, I wonder if I would ever be teamed with Sig Neutron. We would probably do something weird.
I bet.
I have to jump in what he said. I think everyone in the show, there's a reason why everybody made it to the show. I'm including myself because I have to. Everybody has something different to show. Everybody has something different to bring to the table. Everyone is very, very different, and as artists and as persons. And I have to say, I could work with Nico and George, so we can all 3 Puerto Ricans be in the same team. Then we probably can make some damage, but.
I would dream of doing a makeup with anyone here and anyone who's been on Face Off. And I just punched some hair on one of Graham's masks for Mask Fest. So we just did that. And I would love to do a makeup with you and Miranda also. And Adolfo, if we ever do makeup together, they're going to be monster salsa dancers, because Adolfo can do salsa dance. So that's the plan.
You reminded me of George Schminke, man. That guy's awesome. That guy is really awesome. George Troster, he's a good friend of mine, and we've worked together on plenty of stuff, but it'd be cool to make a makeup with him. I'd say Sig as well. I've never worked with that guy, but I know that guy, and our styles would gel, I think. No, that's it.
Any more questions from audience or YouTube? Here we have at the front.
When you guys were in school or on Face Off or just like now, do you guys ever struggle with like imposter syndrome? Yeah, like and how do you deal with that?
What is imposter?
What is
What
say
do you
that
mean?
again?
Like imposter syndrome. So like, you don't feel like you don't like belong, like you're not good enough, and you're like, oh my god, when will they find out that I don't belong here?
Story of my life.
So I'm an imposter for sure, because before I came here in 2006, right, I wasn't artistic. So I've struggled for a long time just being like, man, I just learned this. I'm just trying to apply all these techniques and pretend I'm an artist alongside, you know, be like, all right, fake till I make it or something like that. Like maybe eventually I'll do something that looks like art and someone will go, you're an artist, and I can kind of pat myself in the back. But I don't know, for me, the feeling doesn't necessarily go away. I would say after like 10 years of work, I'm at the point where I'm like, my work's good, this is looking good, but I work alongside people who are way better than me. So constantly I'm like, man, I'm just not catching up. But I guess to get over that syndrome is just to realize that, you know, it's all about how much work you put in. You know, eventually it's gonna build up. But I had a talk with Jordu Shell about this, and he felt the same way. I asked that, and he goes, you mean like I'm a fraud? And I'm like, yeah, do you ever feel like that? He's like, every day. So it's like not uncommon for any kind of artist to sort of second guess their work. You just kind of have to have some diligence and keep pushing forward, because that's one of the main things is inside your head. That's going to be the thing that kind of keeps you from moving on. You know, you can always just be like, well, I'm just not going to be that good. And maybe you'll stay at that level, or maybe you'll push yourself to get better. And it's really all about that. You got to just keep pushing. Because, yeah, I still kind of feel like I'm an imposter, but I'm still digging the stuff I make. Pasta syndrome.
Any more imposters up here?
I guess really fast. Season 7, I was 22 and I had no idea what I was doing, and you can tell if you watch it, and definitely felt that to the extreme. And yeah, it definitely like doesn't go like you always kind of feel like, I think we all do at moments and stuff, but it definitely gets better a little bit, right? Yeah.
No, it does get better. You, as an artist, you're gonna find that you are your worst critic. So it doesn't matter how good you're doing or how amazing what you're doing people think it is. You're gonna hate it. Most of the time, you're gonna be like, man. There's always gonna be something you're gonna find like, oh, you finished your job, and you go like, I wish I did this differently. I wish it was different color. I wish I had more time. You're always gonna wish for a little more. So I think it's something that you're always gonna kind of feel, but it's just finding the way to just snap out of it, and because it's gonna be there, but it's just gonna make you better, because it's gonna push you over and over and over and over until, okay, maybe I don't feel it anymore. But as an artist, that's something that you're always gonna feel, because you're always trying to make sure that everybody like it's okay with what you're doing as far as like your art. Okay.
I absolutely agree. I've been doing makeup for 40 years, and I'll get in a trailer with somebody who's doing something, and I'll think, damn, I don't know how to do that. I mean, I can't do anything, and I feel really stupid. It's like, when I see some of these incredible body painting people, I can't do that. I cannot do body painting. I mean, they do these photorealistic body paintings that just totally blow me away, and I'm thinking, I should have gone to art school or something so I can know how to do this. But of course, you know, when I started this, that wasn't really a thing. This is a relatively new thing that's happening. But there are so many incredible body painters, and it's like, it just blows me away. I feel so inadequate when I look at them. I think, I screwed up. I should have been learning all this stuff all this time, you know? You never stop learning, though. I can go into a trailer, and I'll work with somebody, and I'll see them do some weird little trick on a beauty makeup, and I'll go, oh, why didn't I ever think of that? So it's like, you're constantly learning. You're constantly challenging yourself. And it's fun to keep learning stuff. I mean, I'll walk in and I'll see one of the kids in the class is doing something, and I'll think, how the hell did they ever think that up? It's like, necessity is the mother of invention. And just, you don't think about something, and it's just another way of looking at something, and you just learn something totally out of the box because they needed to figure it out and they didn't have what they wanted, so they made something up. You know, it's cool. It's just, you never stop learning, and you always will feel inadequate, trust me.
I think it is normal and kind of healthy to, every artist will question themselves to a certain degree, and I guess it's necessary to get good work. The key is you need to do it, but you will figure it out somehow to get there. You know, you won't stop until you reach that point. And just by trying, you will mess up, you will make faults, but this will teach you to make it better and then get solutions to. But if you don't try, you don't get there. It's a path, the way you go there, you know. Any other questions?
Yeah, we have some.
We have.
So we need to address after this response.
I do want to take a quick opportunity to ask also you something, V, about this. I started department heading about 7 years ago. My key is here, Devin, and my shop manager, who is an awesome lady, and we manage sometimes crews up to 20 artists. I always felt very inadequate a lot of times until I took on that role and I realized that I have responsibility, that as a department head, I need to serve the lowest of my artists, or not necessarily the lowest, but the newest and youngest of my artists. I have to be there to take care of them and make sure that they are accommodated, that they know what they're doing, that they are confident and capable. So for me, that has always have been a very difficult things to deal with, and I realize that I have to be very introspective and realistic with my capabilities and what I can and can't do. So I really wanted to take this opportunity to ask you about this as a seasoned department head. What kind of advice you could give for artists going that route?
What kind of advice I do what? Giving what?
When you're responsible for other artists on set, when you're working with other artists on set.
Well, first of all, I have the luxury of being in the union, and hopefully most of these makeup artists that are in the union now pretty much know what they're doing. And I just have to say that I try to hire as many people that I feel can do at least what I can do. Because you're only as good as the people that work for you. I mean, because when something goes wrong on the set, if one of your makeup artists screws something up, they don't know who that is. They don't go to that makeup artist. They come to you. And they say, you screwed up. You better fix it. And I'm not going to go back to that makeup artist and say, wah, you know, and yell at him. It's my responsibility. You're responsible for every person on your crew and what they're doing. So don't give a challenge to somebody that you feel might not be able to accommodate that challenge. You know, make sure that the people that you hire and that you're having do these things can do them. You know, that's my advice. I mean, obviously, there's many times where we don't have that choice. We have to hire a lot of people because we need bodies to do certain stuff. So just set them in tiers. You know, give them a task that you know they can do well, and that way, you know, you're not setting them up for failure. You know what I mean? You never want to set somebody up for failure. You never want to give them a job that you know they'll never be able to do. So you just kind of try to figure that out ahead of time.
Thank you.
All right, so some YouTubers that are curious what projects everyone's been working on after Face Off and that you're proud of.
Let's see here. Well, I was fortunate enough to go to Africa to work on a movie, Beasts of No Nations, and I was the key makeup artist on that. It was a great experience. It's on Netflix right now. It won a bunch of awards I didn't even know about, but it's one of those wake-up call movies that's really going on, and it's one of those movies you only need to watch once because the subject matter's like very in your face, very real. Yeah, it was an experience. We were out there for 3 months straight, and they extended our stay. And that's really the only job that I was actually scratching the days off like a prison sentence. Like, I cannot wait to get home and actually eat some real food, because they have us come out a week early because they know everyone's going to get sick. You know, you go to Mexico, you drink the water, you're going to get sick for a couple days. This is like a 4-day thing. So they get us out there early so that we can just get through the sickness and then work. And usually when I'm working on set, doing makeup, I usually end up losing weight because we're doing so much. But on this show, We couldn't eat any of the local vegetation because that bacteria level was out of control for us. So I ended up gaining so much weight because it was just pizza and pasta that I was giving my clothes away. I couldn't fit in anything. It was ridiculous. But just last summer, Wayne Anderson had gotten a project through Tate. It's called, it's the director of Bone Tomahawk. He did another movie called Dragged Across Concrete, so we got a chance to work with Michael J. White, all this really heavily gory scenes, autopsies and blown off fingers and little, animatronic hands and things like that. So it's been quite a ride, there's no doubt. And right now, I'm making, for the last last 4 seasons of NCIS Los Angeles, I'm pretty much making most of the prosthetics for that show. It goes from episode from episode. It could be a little slow, and then all of a sudden we need severed heads and fingers, and you want a toe, I can get you a toe, kind of thing. So, yeah, it's been good, I have to say. But I'm still hustling for work. Even though you've been on Face Off, I get it. Everyone thinks that they're going to have this, I've got this path, I got this career path lined up for me. You still have to hustle for work. There's no doubt. You still have to make phone calls. You still have to network and attend the functions and, rub elbows with people because, like I tell this to all my students that graduate this school, just because you graduate this school, you're not going to be able to sit by your phone and wait for Steven Spielberg to give you a call because it's just not going to happen. You got to make it happen. So, and that's always been with me. I've always been a talker. I'm not afraid to pick up a phone and make a phone call, or basically just go up and talk to somebody at a trade show, because you never know. You never know what's going to happen until you open your mouth. And if you don't, you're just going to regret it because someone else is going to do that and they're going to get that gig. So, yeah, it's a lot of hustling.
I'm going to make it fast because I know we all have something. There's a lot of projects I'm proud of, but last year I was the makeup effects department head for the international Gucci campaign, and we did Creature from the Black Lagoon and a bunch of retro aliens, and I brought on Joe Holland and Nick Herrera to assist me with that, and it's just kind of a dream come true to have your monsters and fashion in vogue and internationally on billboards. It was really special. So.
I'll keep this really short too. The huge list of projects, but since Face Off, I've been taking our business really seriously. We work every day, 8 hours, 9 to 5, including weekends. And now we are moving out of our old shop into a bigger shop. This industry has been very kind to me. I've worked really hard, never took a day off, and now I'm buying my house off my makeup career, so it could be good to you guys too. So just keep that in mind.
Great, congratulations.
Thank you.
I came up with a game for people to learn how to match skin tones, Flesh Master, and it's very nice when people write and say how helpful it is. It's on iPhone and iPad, and it's iOS. Flesh
Why
Master.
don't I know about this?
Do you not know about Flesh Master?
No, I don't know about this.
Oh my God. Well, okay, so Flesh Master.
Not to mention the candy. Hello.
Well, the Flesh Master app, everyone has a color wheel in their makeup kits, and for years people are like, I can kind of see what this color might be. And I said, there's got to be an easier way, and it has to make more sense, and that's theory. So I came up with a game that's based on real paints and real makeups, and it trains your eye. And Kenny Myers was using it on set, and and he said, you know what, do you want to make a PPI palette based on that? Because it's really helped me. And he's great with color. He has PPI palettes. So it has helped a lot of people. I'm really honored that a lot of people are using it, and hopefully now more people are going to be using it.
Well, that's cool.
Flesh Master. There you go. Flesh Master on the iPhone and iPad. There you go.
That's great.
That's awesome. I didn't know about it, but I'll use it now. Let's see, I'll keep it short. In February, I got into the 706, finally, after 13 years of trying.
Yay!
So finally, thank you. Finally made it into.
I can hire you now?
Yes, you
Awesome!
can. I know, I heard you listing names. I'm all, No, I got in the 706. I special effects department headed at The Nun, which is about to come out September 7th. We did another one right after that with New Line, Warner Brothers, called La Llorona, The Curse of La Llorona, comes out April 9th. And then we start Annabelle 3 in October.
Wow, cool.
And then I've been working at Legacy Effects in their Silicon department for the last month or so.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Go on down. I'll go last. I don't want to eclipse anybody.
This year in January, they had at IMAX, there was a reunion panel for the Thriller Michael Jackson music video. So they had John Landis, Rick Baker, all these people at this panel, and I was asked to provide a cat monster for that. That was a big honor for me. So I did that. I was already working on another demo, my White Leopard Girl, so I had to do 2 demos for that convention, so it was pretty intense. I'm working on something new now. It's not a cat, but it still has hair. It's going to be terrifying, and wait for that.
I'm established in Vegas, like I said, so I'm not in the movie scenario as much as the ones sitting next to me. I do a lot of independent movies and films, but my career is based more on the theater. So I am working for Cirque du Soleil now. So I work for Humanity, and I'm a makeup technician and wig technician over at Humanity for Cirque du Soleil. So that's basically what I'm doing now. And of course, I'm teaching and doing a lot of things, but mainly Cirque du Soleil. So.
Okay, so I am a little all over the place. I've worked on films and music videos and TV and what. But I also build wigs, and I also sculpt, and I also punch hair, and I also I made some bodies for your Nun movie at ADI, and I'm a little all over the place. I cannot make up my mind on what I want to do. I think set is what I've done the most, films and stuff, but I really do love creating things. I sculpted a suit, a whole costume suit for a singer for his tour recently, and so I really haven't actually made up my mind yet, and I think that that's okay if you haven't made up your mind yet. And one day I will, and I'll probably do one thing, like be an expert in one thing, but I'm not there yet.
I work at some shops, so I've done a lot, and some of them are cool projects, like Jurassic World, Ghostbusters, John Wick, Daredevil, Future Man.
Just a couple of little bitty ones.
Predators is coming out. Yeah, I've worked on a lot, but it's kind of cool because it kind of just stacked up. But one of the coolest ones that I got directly after season 6 was a Childish Gambino video where I got to do all the special effects. And it's this video called Telegraph Ave, and it has this surprise ending at the end. And I brought in George Troster, who helped me make this weird alien thing prosthetic. And they flew me out to Hawaii and shot in Hawaii, on a music video. It was really cool. And I made all the stuff in my house, my apartment. So that was like an organic gig that I got. Everything else was shop work, but that one was pretty cool. Jurassic World.
And I just want to say a couple of things because I have a couple of really cool projects coming out that I did that were shot last year. One of them is A Star is Born with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, Stephanie is an amazing actress. I can't believe how fabulous she is in the film. And Bradley could be a rock star. He wrote music with her, he sings, he plays the guitar, he looks amazing. And I told him, I said, dude, if you give up acting, you could be a rock star in 10 seconds. I mean, he was amazing too. So really cool movie. It's the 4th time this film has been made, and I think it's going to be even more amazing this time. And then I also have another project with the fabulous director Robert Zemeckis, and it's called Welcome to Marwen. And Robert Zemeckis is known for doing a lot of really cool things with motion capture. And this particular film, he's doing something that has never been done before. Along with the motion capture, we're actually using the live action eyes and mouth of the actual actors. So we did a whole different kind of mocap. And in this film, we have these small dolls that look exactly like our actors because of course they were made, from the actors' scans that we did. And these dolls come to life in this film. And that's all I'm going to say because it's a really cool technique, but you got to see the film. And the film is based on a true story, and it's really amazing. Steve Carell is one of the nicest men I've ever worked with. And Leslie Mann is adorable. She's also in it. So those are the 2 movies I have coming out, and I want y'all to go see them.
Yeah.
Great. We really wanted to address one more question from a while back. This is a question for Gage. How did you motivate yourself when people gave you bad criticism and pushed yourself to never give up?
Oh.
Well, that's a good question. I actually come from very rough beginnings. My family and I were very, very poor growing up. We were even homeless when I was in the 6th grade. So starting off that way, kind of, you're forced to grow up a lot quicker than other people. Inadvertently, also being in the Bible Belt at that time and being, a gothy gay kid did not go over so well. So you develop a thick skin, and I don't know how, but like mentally, I kind of came to the conclusion that if people aren't going to like me, I don't really care. I'm not going to be rude about it, but I'm just like, whatever. Because it reaches a point where you just have to not care. You literally, for your own mental and personal health, can't care. Especially, then it was just getting called names all the time, getting made fun of, getting spit on, getting beat up, those things. Then when I started my professional career, when I moved to LA, it was the same thing, just in a different way. And that's how I took it. So I got a lot of static from a lot of people. Only this time it wasn't about being gay or being gothy or being weird. It was like, oh, well, you can't paint, or you're not a sculptor, your molds suck, you can't apply makeup. I'm like, okay. So eventually you have to, that's what I was saying earlier.
Are they in the union yet?
I don't think so. But eventually you have to find you have to find the critique and the criticism, because you may get a lot of criticism, but then you'll catch a nugget of a really great critique that you can actually learn from. So professionally, that's what I started doing. And again, you just have to develop a thick skin. I think because I was in high school in the 90s, it was a lot different. It was different because it was a lot rougher. I feel like now it's still pretty rough because it's just kind of, that kind of bullying is filtered up online. But it was rough and tumble, and it helped me develop a thick skin. So I always just would turn to films and movies growing up. I'd pay attention to the characters, not necessarily the actors portraying those characters, because I knew they were people too, and I try not to put anyone on a pedestal. It was like this strict little guideline that I set up in my own head, but it worked for me. Most of my tattoos are characters from films that inspired me growing up. I recently worked with Sissy Spacek, and I did her makeup. And at the end of the shoot, I approached her and said, listen, I had a very rough upbringing. I related a lot to your character in Carrie. And I brought my book, and I had her sign it. And she was just the sweetest woman. And it made me feel like it satisfied like this deep part, like inside my heart, where like I was like, I knew I always related to you for a reason. I knew I always related to you and your character. So, you just really got to find what keeps you strong, find what makes you happy, and just keep going regardless of what people have to say, the negative things they have to say, because life is long and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get easier, but you just have to adapt and find the people that do love you, do accept you, do praise you, do think that you're a great person, because those are the people that are going to carry you through, the hard times.
Very nice, Gage. Thank you. That was nice.
Any other questions?
What's other questions?
So you guys have all done really amazing, awesome things, and you guys are all very, very inspiring. What would be your biggest advice for like a student or someone that's just getting into this industry?
Never turn down a job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. Don't turn it down. Go do it and get experience. Doesn't matter if they don't want to pay you. You take your stuff, you do the best job you can, you get the experience, because you never know who you're going to meet at that job. You can meet the next job there. You meet the person that's going to give you the next job and the next one. And it just keeps snowballing. That's what you got to do. Just take every single job that's offered to you, because that's the only way you're going to get the experience, is by actually doing it.
Yeah, I completely agree. When I was a student here, I had just moved to LA the day before I started here, and then I started my job that evening. So I came here, I went to school, and then when I got out, I went to my job that I transferred with, which was at Hot Topic, and then I worked there. So I was a full-time student with a full-time job, and I did makeup jobs on the side for free. And I did that for 3 years until I finally was like, I need to start charging for this makeup stuff because I can't pay my bills. I was falling really far into debt. So take every job that you can, I would say. I learned so much. And I find that oddly, I have a lot more discipline than a lot of other artists because of that. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say yes to a job. I've met a lot of people I went to school with in my class. They were so afraid to take a job. They were terrified because they didn't know how to do a bald cap, or they didn't know how to do, and even though they had just learned it, they were afraid to try to apply that skill. I would say don't be afraid. Get a friend the night before and try it on them, if you have to, but don't turn down work, because I think that's how you start to develop your network. I still work with producers from 13, 14 years ago when I first moved here. So it's gonna pay off.
I would say definitely networking is super important. When I was in school, I kind of had this idea of this plan that I wanted, and the next 2 years, the next 5 years, Face Off was part of that. I also just got into the union. The union was part of that as well. I found that it was really hard because I would talk to people about the union, and I felt like I was always getting a different answer, or people would say, oh, it's too hard, or costs too much money, or people go try for 20 years and they don't even get in. And I just kept asking professionals and asking friends and asking other people that had done that and been on that path of what's it like and what to do. And eventually I kind of got the right answers, and I just didn't give up. And so I think it's just important to keep networking and putting yourself out there, and those are the people that are going to hire you.
To build on that, I'm going to say 3 things that I think are the most important. Wake up in the morning. If you have time off or a day off, or you don't know what you're doing today, do something that benefits you. Wake up at 8 sharp every single day. Don't ever be late for set. Don't ever be late for a job or a meeting. Show up. You don't have to be an hour early, but just respect other people's time when you go to a job, and never flake. This is something that I took myself very serious on, is managing myself as a business person, because this is not my hobby, it's my career. So as my career, I'm respecting myself, my career, waking up, taking care of myself. Oh, and one last thing, take care of your health. Even if you are stressed out of your mind because you're working super hard, sleep is important. Make sure that you get it. Even if you're working all night, provide time on the weekend, provide time to eat, drink water, and make sure that your friends around you are doing that too, because this grind will creep up on you very, very fast.
If you love it, keep doing it. There will always be people telling you, you shouldn't do it. They will criticize you, family members, friends, or whoever. When I started out in Germany, and I applied for theater, and the guy told me, I wouldn't even take you for amateur theater. And that didn't stop me. The important thing is to just keep going, keep doing it. And don't be afraid to fail. Because and if you fail big. Because the bigger you fail, this is stuff you remember, this you learn the most from, So failing is part of getting there.
I think a big part of it is being diplomatic when you're working on set and with your client. A lot of times you're going to work with a lot of companies and a lot of producers, and yes, you might get your next job through that producer and through that director, but a lot of times you're going to get the job from the person in the chair. And that person in the chair, you need to have a good relationship with that person, and you make them feel comfortable. And I think in my case, being very diplomatic with my clients has helped me a lot. Because that person in the chair is gonna say like, hey, I got my makeup done by this person. It's amazing. Who's that person? Blah 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 blah. So I think just being a good person on set and being like diplomatic. A lot of discipline. Don't be late, and just stay true to yourself. Because a lot of times you just have to follow this one. Okay, it's your imagination versus anybody else's. So you just go for yours. Okay.
Yeah, just remember, if you're not early for a job, you're late.
Sorry, the sun's in my eyes, so I wear these glasses.
And you look cool.
And your teachers are probably telling you this, but when you get to this job, you're going to be real busy, and you might not have time to improve your craft or something that you want to be good at, and you got to make time to do it. Like, I go home and I sculpt almost every day on my own stuff, and I've got a lot of friends who are like, "What are you doing? You just keep going," and it's like, at the same time, they're like, "Man, these masks and stuff that you're making are really good." And it's because I'm going home and I'm just cranking on stuff. You know, like, there's a lot of time to hang out, there's a lot of time to go out and do things, but if you want to get better as an artist, you have to just put in the work. Some people are lucky, they have that ability, they can just immediately push out good work, and I'm not that way. Like I said, like, I learned how to be an artist, so I'm constantly working at being a better one, and that's off on my own time. Like, I have a full-time job, and I spend probably about maybe 3 or 4 hours a day, like, working on my own stuff. So it's like, this is 15 years in my career, and I'm still working on my own stuff. And it's paying off. But there's a lot of artists out there who are just like, well, I already have this as a career. I do art every day. You know, I'm putting on makeup, I'm doing paint jobs, you know, I sculpt for prosthetics. But that's in somebody else's confines, you know? So sometimes you gotta just do stuff for yourself to really develop your own style and your own skill. If it's something that you're not happy with, somewhere you're lacking, you have to put in the work to do it. Like, after you get out of school, you're not gonna have somebody like patting you on the back or telling you like, you need to do this better. So it's up to you how good you can get. You know, you have all this time. You have a lot of stuff that you're learning. So just utilize it all. Yeah, so put in your own work on your own art.
Especially when you're like getting out of school, like, you have the luxury of having different teachers, so you're going to learn something different from every teacher. The same way you're going to learn things from different people in the industry. The same way we learn from different people in the show. When I was in the show, I saw things in the show and I was like, oh, maybe next time I'll try it that way. So just try to learn and learn and learn and learn from everyone. And then eventually you're going to create your own style. And then there's going to be somebody that's going to learn from you. And is going to look at your stuff and, oh, maybe I'll try that way. So it's always good to like learn and absorb as much as possible, because that's the best way to grow.
I think it's important as well to be a good people person, to get along with everyone, you know, because a lot of times they hire people not because they're the best, because they like to hang out with them, you know, and they're good enough. There might be better people, but you have to see, if you do a movie, you hang with these people for a long time, for a couple of months, and you don't want to have someone who has issues with other people. It's fighting the whole time. You know, it's a big part as well to be hired, to be able to handle other people and be polite. And
I absolutely agree with you, Robert. I know that a lot of times, you know, on shows, like I said, I always like to hire people that are as good as myself, or at least have the same skills. I would much rather hire somebody that is good to be with than somebody that's bad, that's really great and is an asshole. Because you know what? We are trapped in a box. And you're going to be in that box with these people, and it's not going to be pretty. And nobody wants to be around somebody that's crabby or self-important, or, you know, thinks they're, you know, God's gift to the makeup world. You want to be with somebody who likes their job, who, I mean, I don't want to say adequate. We want to be more than adequate, but it's much nicer to be with somebody who has a great sensibility about them and who is a good artist than somebody who doesn't and is a great artist. I would much rather just be with a good artist that's great to be around than one that's the other way. So that's something to think about, because you really have to remember that you're with those people. I've been on shows that have been 9 months long. Do you want to spend 9 months with an asshole? I don't. So you have to think about these things, you know. Think about it. You just have to have good, like he says, you have to have good people skills. You know, you have to know when to talk in the trailer, when not to talk, you know, just all of these things. I can't even talk anymore. We've been talking for so long. But it's just good people skills, you know, and just knowing what you should be doing in the trailer and when you should be doing it. You know,
And be
there's
on
just
time.
so many things like that.
Be,
What?
be reliable and be on time.
Yeah, that's why I said if you're not early, you're late.
Any more questions from YouTube or the audience?
Any more questions from the audience? All right, we have one last question, one final question, and I think we can direct this to Herman Robert. Pull this up here. Any advice for international folks who dream of becoming makeup artists like you as well? And they really value the U.S. and they think to make it as a special makeup artist?
Well, I was lucky. My dad was American, so I always had the American passport. Even though I was born in Germany, I got the funky accent. I always had the American passport. That's why I'm saying I'm kind of German, you know. But if you want to be here, you know, come here and marry someone, you know. Do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. Thank you.
Perfect. That's what you tell everybody, right? Oh, good. And on that note,